Hi everyone, I'm the Plant Propagator and welcome to my channel. Today it is a nice, warm, sunny day here in Southwest Florida. It is 90 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 32 degrees Celsius with a heat index. It's a little humid today. It's 100 degrees, it feels like it's 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which I think is 38 degrees Celsius. So it is it's a little bit of a warm day here, but because of the heat and the humidity and the bright sun that we have today, my orchids are under shade. Some of my other plants are not, but it's a great day to be a plant propagator. What I wanted to do today, I haven't done this in a while, is just show you, kind of give you an overview of how the orchids, some of the orchids are doing in my collection, and we're going to take a look at some of the other plants and some of the other activities and in general sense things that are going on in the garden. I'll try to move through things quickly, but if you've been watching me and you know me, I tend to kind of get stuck on certain things. So I'll try to move through things pretty quickly, but this might end up being a little bit of a longer video. So there's a lot of things going on. We're gonna take a look at some blooms that I have, some blooms that are coming, flower spikes. I'm also, just because I enjoy orchid breeding so much, I'm going to show you the capsules, and I've got a lot of capsules forming on my plants, and we'll take a look at some of those because it's interesting. Some of the plants that I've been crossing that are going to give me seed, I hope, I think. And then the other thing, just so you know, is I've got a lot of orchids. I continually expand. We're going to take a look at seedlings, and some of the seedlings are behind me, but we're going to take a look at more of them. But what happens, because I'm starting to accumulate a lot of orchids, and because I can't remember the names of all of them, so I might forget as we go through here and look at things, I might forget the names of some of the orchids, and I'll put those up on the screen if I do happen to forget those names. But we got a lot of stuff to look at. I have a kind of a list in my head of what I wanted to show you, and hopefully I'll remember most of them. But let's just see how it goes. And then there's always surprises. There's always new things that kind of show up that we'll discover together. So what I want to do is get behind the camera, and we'll just go through my collection and my other plants, and I'll show you what I got. Okay, and we're back. So let's get started, and I'm not going to show you every single plant because yikes, that would be too much, but I'm going to highlight some things. So this is a Phalaenopsis that is growing in this shell, this conch shell, that is then mounted on a driftwood tree. And this thing is still blooming, it's still doing okay, but we are on the tail end of Phalaenopsis blooms. And what's happening also is they don't do, I mean, it's cute, it's fun. They don't do really well in the shell, so I'm going to have to tie it in there a little bit tighter and maybe throw some bark in there as well. But still, kind of an interesting thing to have this, you know, a tree, a conch shell Phalaenopsis tree. There's one other one that's still blooming right up here. Okay, moving on a little bit, let's take a look at my seedlings. So this is part of my nursery right here, and these are some of the seedlings that I brought home from the laboratory, and they're kind of adjusting. Some of them are doing really well. This one right here, I think this is another right there. That nice big one in the middle is Billy Baby that I've shared with you in the past, but just a bunch of different orchids that I brought home from the laboratory, and nursery is filling up. And then again, some more cattleyas right here. Well, they're not all cattleyas, but some different orchids right here. So as we move up, you can see that I've got a lot of orchids, the dendrobiums. I've got dendrobiums and mostly dens, but some cats in here as well. So the dens up on the top, we've got some blooms of right here of Wulang And as we move up, there's some more blooms right there, also of Wulang. So the Wulang grows really well. It tends to bloom pretty well also. And then I've got just a mix of other plants. But the one other thing that I wanted to highlight and show you is this vanilla. So intermingled in there, I don't know if you can see it, but crawling up this shelf is a vanilla, and this is vanilla planifolia. And as you might imagine, I selfed this plant, and I'm going to show you, give you an idea of scale. This is a capsule from one of the success. I tried crossing a lot of these, and apparently I'm not good at it, but here's a huge capsule on this vanilla, and it's vanilla planifolia, so it'll give us a vanilla flavoring. And then there's a smaller one right here that was from a later cross that isn't doing as well. So it is kind of interesting that there's this nice, and it's at a nice level. It's about 5 feet, 1.5 meters off the ground, and there's convenient level to be pollinated. Moving through here, there's not really a whole lot more. I do want to show you down here. These are some keikis of Maikai, and this is just newly established. I've got them in the leca here, and then I've got some more keikis also from Maikai, and we'll take a look at the Maikai plant that I have, but it's got more keikis growing out on it, but it really needs to be divided. So there's 3 more keikis there, and then another one right there from my Maikai. And this was a virus-tested virus-negative Maikai. I do want to show you some of the plants back here because, and it's kind of hard to get to, but there is a, I don't know if you can see it. Well, you can't. I'm gonna have to get back in here, and this is a little tight. But right here is a bloom. You can't see it well at all, of Encyclia tampensis. And this is a native plant, a piece of a native plant that I mounted on this board. And it's just a new division, and it's not doing well, but it has flowered. Over here, I do want to show you this, because this is a cane that's coming out the end of here of Wulang. And what's going on with this cane is it's got a bunch of keikis growing out on it. There's one right there. As you go further back on here, there's more that are growing out. I guess the big one is right front that you can't see very well. But then there's a couple more growing. Actually, I think there's 3 more growing out of here. And I just cut this cane off, laid it on the shelf, and it's growing keikis. The other things that are back here is not really that much to note, but these are board mounted plants, and I've got a lot of divisions on some of my plants that I just take back bulbs and strap them to these boards and see how they do. There is the one down here that is doing fairly well right here is Hamlin's Glory, I think. And this again is a division of a plant that seems the roots grabbed on, and it seems to be doing really well. Moving on a little bit, let's take a look out of this tight space and take a look at some of the other orchids that are growing in my collection. I do want to show you right here is another Encyclia tampensis that I grew from seed that has its first flowers coming out on it. These are not open yet, but I'm excited because it's the first flowers that are coming out from seed that was mounted on a piece of driftwood. Below it right here is Julia's Smile. Actually, these 2 plants are Julia's Smile, which is one of my hybrids. The one on the left is getting pretty big. That has flowered previously. The one on the right in the small 4-inch square pot has not yet flowered. Over here, just to show you, down here are some of my seedlings. And these guys are doing well. It's nice when the seedlings really take off. So they're starting to do well. I mean, big leaves on some of these. The one on the back, there's 4 of them in here. The one on the back left was deflowered, I think, no less than 6 months ago. But it's really, really growing well. It's one of my more vigorous hybrids. Okay, moving on. This I've shared with you recently, and this, unfortunately, we're not going to get good angles on this, but this is Odom's Grand Delight. That's the back of the flower, and that's the back of another flower. This was, you know, this was closed, as you might imagine, a few days ago, and it's open now. And then the seed capsules that I shared with you previously are still there. Again, we've got some more flowers coming out here, but this is one of my more prolific flowering and growing orchids in this huge clay pot that's sitting in the base of this chair. Okay, moving on a little bit as we go up, I should show you, you know, I really am not very good at growing vandas, but the vandas themselves, I guess maybe I should say at getting them to flower. The vandas themselves are growing really well. There's a Rinco stylus right there, regular vanda right there. This is my largest vanda right here on this tree, and it's big, and this thing has not yet flowered, but it has some, you know, look at the massive root system on this, and the roots that go up and down this tree. It really is, I mean, it's growing well, but it just hasn't flowered, as people tell me, needs more light. But as you can see, I'm not easily going to be able to move this. It's going to have to grow where there is more light. Okay, moving on over here, back to here. This is a Myrmecophila right here that is putting out, I don't know if you'll be able to see it, some pretty large bloom spikes right there. And so this will probably be open. These will probably be open. I hope you can see them in maybe another few weeks. Over here is Cattleya facilis. And this is doing well. The blooms you can't see really well, but they're right there. And it's got more blooms coming out on this. There's a bloom over here that I think is starting to open, that we're going to see probably open in a few days. There's another bloom behind it back here that's in the center. And then there's some more blooms coming out right there on the end of that spike right there, and I think there may be 2 or 3 more blooms there. So Cattleya facilis, that is seems to be a really prolific plant, and it is doing really well. Oh, look what so I do have to show you this, and again, I'm going to get sidetracked here. This is a milkweed plant, and I got this at one of the big box stores because I've tried growing them from seed. I put them out there, and the Monarch larvae just eat them to the ground. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to get a big plant. They had them for sale at Lowe's for pretty cheap, $4. So I got this much larger plant, and it's going to end up being just a leafless twig plant in a little while, because I don't know if you can see all of the larvae on it. There's one right there. There's one, I don't know if we're going to be able to see it, that is right about there. But they're all over this plant. There's another, you probably can't see that. There's another one right there. But as you might imagine, from the leaves that have disappeared on this plant, another one right there. It's covered. And what happens is this time of the year, the monarchs are just everywhere, and it's nice because there's a lot of different butterflies that visit my garden. But what happens is I get these plants, and they get big, and then they get chewed down to nothing, and then a few leaves come out, and then those leaves get eaten, and it's a battle back and forth. And they're not saving it for their brothers and sisters. They eat the plant down to nothing. This was full. This plant was full when I put it in the ground about a week ago. And in another week, there won't be any leaves. They're getting the tender stuff first, so everything on top gets eaten first. But after that, they go to the older leaves, and then after that, they eat the growing points because it's the most tender stuff. Anyway, all right, moving on a little bit. These are, I do want to share this with you because these are some of my nicest seedlings right here. And so I have a lot of seedlings that are in these trays. And these are the ones that, some of these over here are the ones that are going to end up in the 4-inch pots, which means the keeper. But some of, I mean, these are really nice. And again, these were in the laboratory. They were deflasked probably 6 months ago, not very long ago. But you know, they're doing well. I've got some more down here on the bottom, but you can see some of these. Let me get a better angle on this. Some of these plants are pretty nice. They're pretty big for seedlings, and some of them have, I really like the one that's right here. I think, oh, let me go up. The one that's right here that has markings, that has some spots on, the spots are not a pathogen, but it has some spots suggesting that the flower on this plant is also going to have spots on it. So anyway, some really nice seedlings here, but looking at the ones here, I wanted to show you these because these are in 3-inch round deli containers, and these are the monsters. These are the big plants that when I deflask, they won't go in the 2-inch pots that most of these are in here, but I have to pot them directly into these large 4-inch round deli containers. And these are the ones that have the massive root systems that are going to grow pretty well. And these were probably deflasked not even 6 months ago. All right, and the other thing that I wanted to show you here was right next to these large 4-inch containers with my monsters from deflasking, there's a bunch of Encyclia tampensis. So those are right here. And again, these were deflasked not that long ago, and I think they look really good and are ready to go. I've got a bunch of these that I deflasked, ready to go. Not too many flasks left, but a lot of seedlings that I've deflasked. Okay, moving on, I want to show you the plant right next to, and I've shared this with you pretty recently. So this is clear stars. This is Brassicattleya clear stars, and I shared this with you when these blooms right here were open, and then it had a bunch of other blooms, bloom spikes that were almost ready, and this just opened today, and you can see the nice dark coloration in these flowers. They're not quite open yet compared to the previous ones right here, but this is going to be loaded in a little while when all these blooms open here. And I think there's, in addition to the one blooms on the top right that are open, it's got 5 more bloom spikes that are going to be open pretty soon. All right, so again, this is clear stars. Moving on, there's not a whole lot that are in here. I've got some seedlings in here, but we've seen plenty, we will see plenty of them as we move along. Moving on right here, this is Wyanai leopard Qinghua, and you can't tell, but the sheath right there in the center of the screen, that has some flowers in there, and then I got another one on the opposite side of the plant right up here that you can't see at all, and that's got some blooms in there. But I do want to focus in. I want to show you actually 2 more clear stars, and again, just to give you an idea of what is going on there. So on the left, you can see a new pseudobulb growing out, which is always nice to see. And again, that's an indication of the growth that I'm getting out of these plants. And then moving on to, this is another clear stars right here. But in the center of the screen right there, you should also be able to see another new pseudobulb coming out. So these plants are all doing really well. Over here on this plant, this is Mahino Yahiro Mishima, and this I recently made a division of. But what I want you to see, and it might be kind of hard, is right in the middle there is a new pseudobulb growing out in that space, maybe right there, and then there's another really small one right here. So these plants are all doing really well, and again, you like seeing the new growth. And as we look down here, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but again, I'm not even sure what this is. This one hasn't bloomed for me yet, but in the middle right there, another pseudobulb growing out. So it's always good when the plants are doing well. I got to go around the other side of the palm tree. We'll stop in the middle and take another look. This is the only flower that's left on this Wu Lang, but it is growing. This Wu Lang, this Dendrobium Wu Lang, is growing well. And what I want to show you is as we walk around the other side of the tree, I want to show you the massive root system that is associated with this plant. So right here, as you look down the tree, most of this is from Wu Lang. As it goes all the way down, you can see the root system. There's Pseudopodium punctatum that's at the bottom right there in the middle, and hopefully I'll get some new growth out of that. But again, most of that root system is from Wu Lang, from that Dendrobium. Moving back to where we were along the fence, there's some more seedlings right here that I wanted to share you, and just to show you what they look like and show you how well they're doing. Over here, as we move to the next plant over, this is Momolani Rainbow, and Momolani Rainbow tends to do well. What I want you to take a look at is the new pseudobulb growing out from there. There should be another pseudobulb coming out from right in here, I think. Hopefully you can see it there. But the other thing that I want to emphasize and show you is the seed capsule that's right there, and then there's another seed capsule that is right there. So this plant is doing really well. It's got a lot of roots that are growing on the pot, and it's nice when everything is growing really well, putting out new pseudobulbs and nice root growth. Going through here a little bit more, there's not much I want to show you except for right here, and this is a capsule on this plant, which is Fire Dance Patrician. I'm excited about it because it's my first seed capsule on this plant. Okay, moving along, we have to actually back up just a little bit and take a look at another Vanda that is growing on this tree right here. And to take a look at this, I don't know if you can see it, but there is, let me get a better angle, different view. There is a flower spike coming out of this. This is an Arides odorata, and right in the middle of the plant is a new flower spike that's coming out of this plant. And so this plant is, it's just been a really slow grower for me, but it's not growing a massive root system, but it is long roots. So the roots, when you follow them down, all right, if we take a look at this root coming out of this plant and you follow it down, it goes all the way down to the ground and then branches. And if we follow it back up, here's our plants. There's the Arides plant right there. So if we follow it up the tree right here, you can get an idea maybe of how far up the tree this root system goes, and it disappears kind of up in this area. So it is a nice, it's a small plant. It doesn't grow that much, but it seems to flower for me fairly consistently. Okay, moving on a little bit, I don't want to show you too many of the plants that are growing on my trellis right here. I do have this orchid. It's covered up by the alamanda, but the orchids that are in pots are doing well right here. So again, a new pseudobulb growing out of that. But what I do want to show you up here is that we have a visitor. So our visitor is right here, and this is a pigeon that likes to hang out with the orchids, I guess. So this pigeon, she tried building her nest in my orchid pergola and some of the orchid baskets, and she was evicted twice. And so she built a nest, and I said, can't have that, because what happens is they get in there and they smash my orchids, my babies that I grew from seed, and they make a big mess, and they stay in there for a long time, and they're also carriers of bird lice, which are just gross. So I evicted her twice, and then she finally decided to set up shop right here, and I said, okay, even though she's above some of my orchids, they're going to let her stay because she's not in an orchid basket. So she's in there. She's kind of wondering what's going on right there, and yeah, we'll let her stay, and she's doing well, I hope. All right, so moving back down, this is a Brasidium Kenneth Bivens. And this is a plant that belongs to the Plant Propagator Junior. It's in a big pot. It's one of the few plants that I have that's in bark. And the flowers came out on this a couple of days ago. They opened up, and the flowers are nice, and there's a bunch of them. It hasn't quite bloomed all the way as we go up the spike. Hopefully it'll stay in focus, but maybe not. So none of the other, but this right now has 4 flowers that are open, and they're nice really big flowers here, and yeah, it's a nice Brasidium. It's one of the ones that tends to grow really well for me. The pseudobulbs that grow out of this are doing well, and if you look down here, you can see, I don't know if that's a root or a pseudobulb coming out of the base of this one right here. But this plant's doing well. All right, moving on. We got a lot of stuff to see, a lot of stuff to look at. This is, I'm going to take an overview of this, and I hope you can get an idea of how big this plant is. This is a Encyclia tempensis that I grew from seed. It's one of my largest seedlings, and I think it has about anywhere from 30 to 40 to, I don't think it has 50 spikes on it, but it has, none of the flowers have opened yet, but this thing really does draw a lot of pollinators in. So this is Encyclia tempensis, a big plant that I grew from seed. Tends to be doing well, and surprisingly it's in just a 4-inch square pot that is pretty much covered with roots right now. I'm not sure what I want to do with this plant. It just keeps on getting bigger. Below it, as we move on, I don't know, not much here. I do want to show you, though, this flower spike, or this capsule right here. So on this plant, and this is Siam City, I think. If not, I'll put the correction. There's a capsule of Siam City here, and then there's another one that hopefully you can see right here. And so there's a couple of capsules here on this plant, and I'm excited because I haven't had any successful crosses on this plant yet. So a lot of capsules forming. Here's another situation where, I don't know if you can tell, I've got a pseudobulb growing out between the hanger here. I actually have to take this off and readjust it, because you can't have the pseudobulb going through that space right there, because I won't be able to get it out once it gets big. On this plant right here, this is, I think this is Young Kong, and this is a division of this plant, and you can see hopefully right here a pseudobulb growing out of a new pseudobulb growing out of this plant. So, but it's got, oh, and it has one in the back too. So this plant is doing well, a recent division. And as far as another plant that's doing well, I can show you this. I gotta move my Alamanda, but this is Dick Smith, and Dick Smith has a number of pseudobulbs coming out, and this was one that I had to put into a bigger pot. This plant was just getting huge for the pot that it was in, but you can see, hopefully there are 1, 2, 3, there's one in the back, maybe 4, I don't know if you can see, but there's at least 4 pseudobulbs growing out of the base of Dick Smith, so it's doing pretty well. All right, moving on a little bit. This is, as you can hopefully or maybe see from the flowers, this is Hawaiian Prominence America right here. And this is most of the flowers on this bloom, peak bloom on this plant for me and other growers was about a month ago, and this is a really late flower on this plant, but this is one that I recommend for everyone have in their collection. It's a striking flower, you know, really nice dark coloration with a striking yellow you know, center of the flower here, and you know, it grows nicely, incredibly fragrant, and it's just a really nice orchid to have. The other thing that I wanted to share with you on this plant that I'm excited about is another seed capsule from a cross that I made on this when it was blooming. Like I said, about 2 months ago is when peak bloom was on this plant. So this is, again, this is a nice vigorous growing cattleya that, and look at the flowers are just wonderful. Look at that. Okay, moving on a little bit, this is, and I shared with you some of the keikis that I had removed from this plant. So this is Maikai, and these are some of the keikis, more keikis that are coming off of this Maikai plant. And this plant's getting pretty big, and it's also not looking really great, so I actually probably should divide this Maikai plant. But this at one point was flowering and making keikis and growing new pseudobulbs, and right now the keikis are growing out of it. But it needs, I think I'm going to pull the keikis off and divide this plant. Okay, moving on a little bit more, I do want to show you, this is the last blooms that are coming out on this fowl, and this is a fowl that I grew from seed. This is the one, most of the blooms have faded on these, but this is a nice plant. This has the most unusual striking flowers, but more importantly, the flowers stay a long time. So I really like this specific seedling. That's one of 6 seedlings that is mounted on this tree. And when you look at the base of this tree, this also has like a lot of Certipodiums, and this is the Florida native Certipodium punctatum that's growing, that apparently likes this location and is growing really well in the center of this triple Christmas palm. So Certipodium, and this is doing well, and you can see the old cane in the back here, and this is deciduous, so every year the leaves fall off, and then in the spring new growth goes out of it, and hopefully this will bloom not this year but next year. Okay, moving on, we'll take a look at, I did want to show you this Vanda right here, and I've shared this one with you in the past because it is such an incredible grower. Right now no flowers on it, but again, this is one of my Vandas that, and I don't have a lot of these, and they generally don't do well for me, but the root system on these, this is, as you can tell, is pretty impressive. And when you go over to the tree that it's growing on, the roots again go down to the base of the tree, and there's those Certipodiums right there that we just looked at, but they go down to the base of the tree. And then when you follow those same roots up the tree, they just keep on going and going and going up the tree right here. All right, so impressive root system on this Vanda, but it's a big Vanda making a lot of keikis and not blooming now, but you know, it's still nice. Okay, moving on just a little bit. I'm not sure if I wanted to, oh, here we go. It's not an orchid, but this is a double flowered daylily. And daylilies, I don't see too many people in Southwest Florida that are able to grow daylilies, but this plant had a lot of blooms on it a couple of weeks ago, and they keep on producing new flowers in this environment. And I've got 2 plants, not of this type, but I've got 2 other ones in front of my house, and they're blooming also. So the daylilies, as hot as it is, well, it's in the shade, but as hot as it is, it's a double daylily that's doing really well. And again, back in the Midwest, I used to grow a lot of daylilies. I do want to highlight this plant right here. This is a new hybrid that I have that is Guarvoclia, I think is the genus. This is Holy Cow, and it's called Holy Cow because I can't believe I got anything out of it. But this is a cross between this Maikai right here and Encyclia alata. And I got very few plants from this cross, but this one is doing really well. Okay, moving on, I do want to show you again another pseudobulb that's in the middle of the screen here that's growing out of this really nice nice orchid. And again, that's what you look for, is new growth. I'll show you just, this is my seedling nursery corner right here. And again, you can see some of how these seedlings and how well they're doing. Many of these, this plant right here was not deflasked less than a year ago, and it's this one on the back corner here. This is big, and it's got new pseudobulbs coming out. There's a sheath right there that I don't think is going to give, I don't think we're going to get a flower out of it, but I'm excited about many of my seedlings, and I'm really impressed by how well they're growing. They love this warm weather here. This is another leaf that's in the way, but look at that nice new pseudobulb and leaf coming out of that one. This is a relatively new, I probably potted this up maybe a couple of weeks ago in the 4-inch pot, but all these plants are doing well. And as we take a little bit of an additional look at my seedling corner, you can see back here, again, some really nice seedlings that are growing in this space down here. But these are doing pretty well. All right, and then another basket right here that we're not going to look into. What we want to do is go take a look at some of the plants in right here, which is my orchid pergola. But I guess before we go over there, I do want to show you, this is a citrus. This is a lime quat, and I planted this because it has shows good resistance to citrus greening, which is a nasty pathogen on the citrus trees here in South Florida and Southwest Florida. So this is a lime quat. It doesn't look great, but I saw it before. I don't know if you'll be able to see it here. So if we take a look, it's so hard to see in the light here. It's probably right there in the middle of the screen. That's my largest, and it's kind of pitiful. It's not very large, but that's my largest fruit at this point. This has been flowering for a little while, but this is still a small plant, and it'll get bigger. This plant has been flowering and putting out fruit for a lot longer. This is a tomato. I don't like tomatoes, but my wife does. But so you can see, and this is really past its prime, but this and it's just too hot for this guy right now. So this is a tomato that's on the tail end of its productivity. So I think it'll be done very soon. Okay, let's take a look at some of the plants, and we're coming to an end here on in my orchid pergola. There's a catasetum is right here that is doing really well. It's growing nicely. I think this might be after dark. I'm not sure which catasetum this is. I've got some other catasetums over here. I do put them at the end of my pergola. There's one in this pot right here that doesn't look well, that's just starting. I just looked in there. I just started to see some new growth, a new pseudobulb, a new cane coming out of this plant. So I'm excited about that. But this is where my catasetums are located, at the edge, because they need a little bit more light. I do want to show you on this piece of bamboo, there's another Encyclia tampensis, and this one is one of the ones that is starting to bloom right here. So you can see, hopefully you can see the blooms on this plant. But it's just starting, and it's not doing really well, but it's doing well enough so that it is flowering. The other things that I want to show you over here in my pergola, so this is a flower that I've shared with you in the past. This is ukulele baby dendrobium, This has been flowering for a long time. I tried crossing this onto some of my other dens, and it was not successful, so it may indicate it's a triploid. You know, nice flower, but I might not be able to use it for much of my crosses. This is Redland up here, Redland. I think it's Redland Sun. I always get this confused, whether it's sunrise or sunset. I think it's Redland Sunset. But what you can see is the new pseudobulbs that are growing out of this plant. I put this in a bigger pot. It was in a tiny pot, doing really well. So it's like, okay, let's put it in a bigger pot, and it's doing well. Right next to it, more, hopefully you can see more pseudobulbs coming out of this plant right here. This is, I think this is Siam City is right here. So nice new pseudobulbs growing out of this plant, and that's generally that's what I'd like to see. I want to show you something. Wow, looking right into the sun here. I want to show you, I think, what is right here. I think I'm in the right place. On this is Cattleya intermedia that has yet another bloom spike coming out of it, and I'm curious to see what the flowers look like here. This is one of those that I've had for a while. I've never had great flowers come out of it, but it just keeps on putting out these bloom spikes. So we'll see how it goes, and we'll see what happens with it. Okay, over here I do want to show you this flower right here, and this is a Dendrobium species, and I'll put the name on the screen. I can't remember what it is, but I got this from Tristan at Palmer Orchids. He recommended this, and I can't handle large plants, and he says, yeah, it might get a little big, but what you hopefully can see is, yeah, it's getting big. It's getting huge, and I don't have room to grow this plant. So here are the canes that are coming over the side of the pot. The roots are going down, and this thing is just getting massive. The plant itself is big, and right now we have just the blooms that are coming out on this plant right here. But in addition to that, there's another bloom spike that should be about right here on this plant. So, you know, it's growing, it's doing well, but it's just too big. And speaking of big, there's another Dendrobium right above it, right here. And if we follow this up, there's another spike coming out of this plant right here, and the bloom spike is right there. So, but there's two of them. If you take a look at the base of this plant, or the base of the pseudobulb, there's two of them. There's an additional spike coming out of this. But this is a Wulang progeny plant itself. And again, Wulang, just to remind you, I got to turn around. It's right over here. Now, the interesting about the other plant that is spiking is that it has, I think it'll have a little bit of a purple blush in the petals and sepals. But it's the same thing. It's this huge plant. Okay, moving on a little bit, we're almost done. I do want to show you, I'm not sure how well, again, I'm staring right into the sun. So here is a Cattleya violacea species, and I can't get up there to show you what it really looks like, but you can see the flower, and this is a semi-alba Cattleya. Looking through here, what you can see again is nice new pseudobulbs that are growing out of this. This is right here, this is Gretchen Garrick, this plant right here, and I want to look a little bit to the right, and you may be able to see a capsule, seed capsule forming right here. Okay, other seed capsules, other plants. Let's see what we got. There's another Encyclia tampensis right here that is putting out a flower spike. There is, what else we want to look at? Here's some more new pseudobulb, one there and one there in this plant. Here is Young Kong right here, And this is a division that I made for a colleague who lost her plants to virus, and I tested this and it was virus negative, divided this plant, so there's a new pseudobulb, so I'm about ready to give it up to her. Moving and looking up, this is right here with all the roots coming off the pot. This is Cattleya McGarland, and if you look, I'm excited about this, if you look right here, I think, hopefully you can see it in this general space. I can't, it's hard to see, it is so hard to see. But right over here is a seed capsule that's coming off of Cattleya McGarland right here. Moving on just a little bit, I do want to show you just a few more. So as we go over here, this is Yellowbird right here, and the nice thing about Yellowbird is it's always blooming. So if you can look up at the top here, you can see some new bloom spikes coming off of this plant in this area, but then you can also see, hopefully, the seed capsule right here that is forming on the same plant. And as we look along, what else can I show you here? Oh, here, let's go up here. This is, in this pot right here, this is Amazing Thailand. And again, what you can hopefully notice from the tag that is swirling in the wind is that I have another seed capsule forming on this plant. So I'm excited about this cross. Okay, moving on, there's just a couple more. Hang with me, we're almost done. And this is right here is Hamlin's Magic. And what you can see, hopefully right here, and then we have a seed capsule forming in here, but the other thing, if we take a look at the other side of this plant, and we have a flower that's formed. So this is pretty nice. And the last thing that I wanted to show you is the flower spike that's forming on this. And this is a primary hybrid. The last time that this bloomed, I'll put the name on the screen. The last time that this bloomed, I only had, I think, 2 or 3 flowers, but it's got 5 flowers on this spike. Okay, so wow, I can't explain to you how hot it is out here and how bright it is, but it's all of that. So that's all I have for you today. I hope you enjoyed my long video. If you did and you want to keep on seeing them, it would help me out if you can click on like, share, and subscribe to my channel if you're not already a subscriber. All right, that's all I have for you today. Again, I hope you enjoyed it, and happy propagating.